and another project I kind of had a bit of a tail kind of happened with. I'm glad that the wait wasn't too long on the line because yeah, this one and that I got someone familiar with that doctor. And I it's kind of I guess a lot on the mind and maybe kind of feel like I'm juggling more at once. But and then I decided to, or I came across something else that added to the mix as things do. It seems like sometimes, and so yeah, I mean, and when I was thinking about it earlier, I'm sorry for the rattle on the line. I'm going to talk. When I was thinking about calling earlier, I was kind of thinking, oh, well, what things would I, I guess get the most benefit from talking about it or whatever. And like, there are a couple of things that, well, I mean, I guess I don't know for sure, but that I feel are, ultimately, well, in a way though, a lot of the things are ultimately, have to make a decision at some point about. Um, so I'm not sure exactly what to start with. Oh, and I maybe could have also timed this a little bit better. I believe it's right around 10:30, and at about 11, I have a virtual doctor call happening, but he is sometimes a bit late. So, but anyway, basically, we may have a trip coming up soon, and we haven't traveled in a while, and it's under kind of with mixed emotions about it and things to figure out. Like I say, I guess it might make sense to talk a bit about some of the project stuff. I mean, especially the maybe more recent ones, since that kind of got alluded to, and then like I say, so I was actually, and I haven't actually called here in a while. I was actually earlier today thinking of doing so, but I was taking the morning slow and waiting for delivery and this and that. And so it's kind of like, well, what I would say transpired it most recently is I don't know if we've talked about this individual or not before, but basically my spouse, probably 2 or 3 years ago, met somebody who was starting up a community theater thing, and basically, and was in one of his, I don't know if it was his first project or one of his early projects, and the guy's always been nice to both of us. I mean, he's only met me a couple times, kind of, when there was lots of other stuff going on around us, and that, and it's a bit of a thing, kind of. His name is my step's first name as well, and oddly, I don't hear the name very often, but it's not exactly unique. And I mean, I am in contact with my mother, and that may have been something we've talked about before, but it's different than it was, and I have had even less contact with my step, who's had some health problems recently as well. Anyway, basically, so yeah. Uh-huh. Mhm. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know if there's a top thing or not. So, but I know that I'm kind of alluding to this kind of ladder thing here, and basically, so I guess basically what happened is I found out a little bit here. And basically, when I spoke to him, basically, I guess what is it? And I'm thinking of some other people that we met around that time where even with the kind of function he happened with this guy, he is he's mutually nice to me and my spouse. The two others that come to mind who seem to the kind of doing data driven type of thing. And so basically, what the things are like, I haven't done theater in a while, but I just, they have a company name that sounds a little dark, and the some of the project I have started to have choices. And so that I feel has painted for me how I see them now. And the other kind of surprising part about it is, I believe that this guy had lost his sister, um, connected to mental health stuff. And so one of the things that they also, like, that's the issue with them, where they get big donations and they're holding those drugs, that's good, that's good. So they've done things for others, that's great. They've also, raised money for things connected to mental health, that's great. However, like I say, some of the concepts that they put out, I, if I was to look closer at it, it's probably affect my mental health, and it's not given to them. But I also know that the content is popular with a lot of people. So basically, I guess, you know, I, I kind of want to reach out to him, but I'm not really connected to him at this point. And if I was to sign a guest book, I feel like I should say, why this person's promoted, and they don't know the person directly, but that function that. And I guess too, there's something else that we briefly maybe talked about in the past, which kind of might connect to it. First of all, I would say though that it is too soon to bring it up to him since the mother passing. And that it is one of those things that also can depend on the person and different things. But I feel like this guy, as much as he needs support, and hopefully he's getting that from his loved ones or whatever, I feel like he wants to, support me and my spouse and the things that we are passionate about. And so when we were talking about the book project in the past, you may have mentioned that there was supernatural, that's what we want to call it. And so, yes, that's, still an area of interest in an area I've made a contact recently who I think is really good connection for me. I'm curious to see where that goes. But kind of, and we've talked about this, her and I, but I'm kind of like feeling like at some point in time, but basically, I might want to get a, offer. Um, money, but at the same time, and it's been kind of sad too. It's been sad in a way too, because like I'd like to be involved with it more. And then there's also someone else that we met in his past project, which stirs mixed feelings as well, to be honest. I mean, I didn't meet the people that I otherwise met. I'm neutral about, but the one guy, he was actually almost in one of his projects, and it was sounding really good until I found out a little bit more and realized it wasn't for me. So that led to disappointment. And he's also a pretty big personality. But no, this guy, like I say, I mean, there are positive things that I see about him and appreciate the little that I do know him. But at the same time, yeah, it's like it's hard to not think of the other stuff too. Well, I mean, yeah, I could kind of do that and then at some point, again, not exactly sure when, but down the road, bring up the other thing and then kind of leave it at that. I mean, the thing is that we also might likely run into him in the summer at the theater, at the Fringe Festival, actually. And so, and I mean, but I, you know, mostly don't have a problem with that. Like I say, when I think about other individuals that I've run into, want to run into, he's not one of them necessarily. But it's like I say, once one knows something, it's hard to not know it, and so it just yeah, like I say, it's hard to kind of ignore the discomfort, but the want to as well. Yeah, so I'm not really sure how to navigate that. And I guess one thing that I should, what's that? No, I mean I've only known about the passing for about an hour or so when I was putting away groceries and stuff, and like I say, there's a first name that's kind of a trigger. I'm just wanting to make sure I'm fairly sure, but see on his social media is that to do with the naming of their theater company or whatever. And like I said, you know, wanting to, even though they're not struggling, wanting to kind of, as we can, be involved and support, you know, because it is something that we mostly do. But basically, I'm thinking, even though I'm not seeing, he just hasn't made one yet. I mean, I guess that's another thing, you know, that people are doing. Some people are like, okay, I need to get this out of my system and share it with people and get support and all that. And I guess some people don't. So just because I'm not seeing it on Facebook, it doesn't mean you posted it somewhere else. Because the last name was good. So I mean, how common is that? Right? So, and basically, and the company name was Good and Day. And so, you know, I understand how some people might say that those go together, like good, you know, and that. But I don't know. I don't like violence. And Dagger kind of said violence, and or I don't like dark, like, you know, things about murder. They've done shit like that. You know, so it's so that's being more specific about it. And yeah, so it's kind of, I guess I wish that I more easily could ignore this sometimes. I did actually have and actually the person that kind of connect with this a little bit as well. I did have and this may sound silly, I don't know, but basically, I had an example with this new contract that we need where but he does have a hobby that is good. And normally, if I was just coming across someone randomly online, not that it's not a popular one, but I would not be contacted the person, and then maybe even just kind of watch the, you know, come in contact with the person. But when I need this connection, when I'm quoting from that facility, it's kind of like, no, I don't want to just throw it away. So I am finding myself, you know, and I think, what is it's not? And so, you know, and thinking about it, I know I'm not, but I can certainly be avoided at times. And so it's kind of like, I guess some people would say the practice of doing the opposite. I mean, I just feel like this either like, almost a social example, when it goes against my, I would see values and morals being similar, but maybe slightly different, and it goes against one of both, I would say. And so it's kind of like to kind of pretend it doesn't really make sense to me, but at the same time, you know, it's easier when somebody I guess if you're only getting bad advice from them, okay, well then you know what to feel. But when it's mixed, you know, yeah, it's I'm struggling to navigate that.
Yeah. So, what do you think? So let's maybe zero in kind of on that and how you think what kind of things might help you navigate that. Making, I know in the past, making lists have kind of been something that has worked for you. Talking it out. What kind of things
You
might
almost
be
remember the
helpful?
bit. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm open to suggestions. Because I guess I'm used, and um, yeah, like I say, there is a small possibility that this is just somebody with that same unique last name, not connected to her. But I'm not saying that for sure. Either way, it's a connection that I'd. And this is the other thing, kind of about it, is that like I think that it's good to connect with people. Well, a variety of people. So people that are kind of, you know, not to sound whatever in saying this, but a level below you in their, if this makes any sense, I don't know. And then people that are kind of you can relate to most, and then people that are maybe kind of a step up the ladder, maybe how to say, in their life. Yeah. So like when I look at this guy and I look at how, I mean, I don't know a lot about his background and history, but I see that he is successful, and I see that one of the with the theater company he actually operates it with his wife, and so so sometimes the second person can be a great help as well. But and I look at it and I think like like I and it shouldn't be hard, but sometimes it is. I don't want to kind of not be around people that could potentially or connected to people that could potentially, and I don't want to put it all on one person either. Potentially be a benefit. So, I mean, but I just think it's kind of a contradiction or whatever to like say, oh, it's great awareness about mental health and this and that and the other, and then doing things like to say, I feel worse than people's anxieties and paranoia, you know. Yeah, like I guess they may be telling themselves it's fictional. I guess I have a harder time with that with certain types of things. Um, so I mean, and part of me also thinks, I mean, this is kind of I didn't say it, but for me it feels like an example of like trash versus not trash, you know, you know. So yeah, it's like I say, there's gray area there, and but I also feel like I was meant to find out what I found out today for a reason, and the fact that I could have possibly opened it in a new tab, but I accidentally clicked directly into it, and then I could use that tab and found myself on the other browser on the same site. And actually clicked into it again, but that was more intentional. It's kind of like it just feels like this is telling me something, and what do I do with it? Like I know that it's hard for me to. I remember in the past that but it's been a while, let's say, but you sometimes kind of avoid that because don't. Yeah. I just want someone to talk with, I actually, well, like I say, it wasn't. I didn't have to wait long on this line either. But the other place that I don't call because there was a bit of a what do you call it? They don't have to ask. But the thing of the matter is that when I was wanting to be kind of on that side of the world if possible, because they're not hiring, but like anywhere else possibly, it can't came up, what if somebody, was dealing with that, and then what, kind of thing. And he kind of, raised his voice at me, basically, and he's there quite often. And I did tell management, but all they got was like a warning, as opposed to like I just, you know, then I guess the person, but they're not monitored very much. Like who knows how often he's doing this, and it's not known about it. People aren't, brave enough to say something. So after that was the first place I called, and also because I thought that the wait might be longer. But I mean, I'm glad that I agree with you. But yeah, basically, like I say, I'm yeah, actually, it's interesting that you mentioned that. It's been a while, but I have. But I guess things get covered up with other notes, or I'm not sure, or somebody may have removed it or something. Um, yeah, so it hasn't really been.
I feel badly that I need to ask that, and so I.
Yeah, so I don't want to belabor that. I mean, I get it. I I guess in saying all that, I feel slightly mixed, but I think that we'd also partly agree that it might be kind of something that within how to put it, within that workplace could be adjusted to be kind of like, if you strongly sense it, ask it, otherwise don't. And then everybody that's there knows that this is how they do it.
We've talked about before. I know that, I don't have that sense right now, but it is something that, I do need to. But I think that your suggestion of what you just said, that you should reach out to management and give that suggestion.
Well, like I say, I had in the past, and it wasn't lasting. So I mean, maybe there's a employee feedback form or whatever. That would be the way to. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, and that's the thing, is like, in some ways, even though I don't have a super clear picture yet, like, things are, I think, improving. But, there's always things that, can bring up the anxiety or make one uncertain. Um, and sometimes it's still a very gradual thing. And so I would say the good things going on right now is I have made some new contacts. One of them I feel especially good about. One of them's a little less, kind of a little less familiar. That it's a couple, and the husband I was actually connected with online ages ago, really hadn't talked with in years. And then his wife came and bought something from us recently, and we have a lot in common with them, and curious to see where it could go. But at the same time, when we messaged and me and my spouse both mentioned our name, he kind of really just said my spouse's name. But I mean, it was sent under my spouse's account, but like kind of ignored the mention of me. And although I think his initial message was kind of thank you for helping us, find what he bought, and that could be perceived as to both of us. But yeah, basically, but like I say, I know we have said what we've said about it, but I kind of like, I do want to wrap up soon because I have that other call coming in. But as far as that kind of, the one I think we've kind of elaborated more about, yeah, I just, like I say, I don't know, I can tell myself, oh, I would like to ignore these aspects, but then actually being able to. And I just feel like not being able to is shooting myself in the foot, for lack of a different way to put it. Like it's not necessarily helpful to me. And my spouse would probably say that too, to be honest. But at the same time, I mean, it makes sense to me too. So, I mean, so it's kind of like, yeah, trying to figure out that, and if there's any suggestions around that. I think, trying to remember, as far as the other things I alluded to, just to kind of go back around to those for a moment. The it's been a little bit disappointing that the book project hasn't really been happening. I didn't have a beginning and an end. I was just writing scenes, and so it's kind of been not really sure. And then just time has passed, and it almost like I feel like it's still something, but it feels like it's not as accessible, not as fresh. But I've been working on a play that I was actually hoping to put into Fringe, but that's not as easy as a lot of people make it look. And so basically, I had an idea for another venue, and I got what I'm seeing as kind of bad news connected to it, because it's not super close to where I live, but we'd only be going once or twice, and we could probably make that work. And I was familiar with some people there, so I thought I was going to get a discount. And I mentioned that, but then a few weeks it went past, and then when I emailed to say, do you have any update, you just forgot to send to me or whatever, she said she was essentially just waiting to hear from me with the date that the rates had went up, and that there would also be an insurance fee for a rental in a space in a church. And so, I mean, doesn't sound like I'm getting any discount. The insurance fee thing sounds odd to me. I wouldn't have expected that. And but depending on, so one thing I might do soon is make an event page and see how many people I can get interested, and then if and maybe even get them to pay. And then, I want to make, it's not just about the money, but with my low income, it's partly about the money. I want to make some profit. I don't want to just be making back what I paid the venue. So it's kind of like, if it looks like I might, then maybe my hope will be restored. But what transpired it, actually, it's sad, but it also adds to some of the good news. In February, end of January, but really set in February, I lost a young friend to diabetes. And basically, I'm not entirely sure whether I have that too. I think of all the health things someone could pass away with, that could be something that I might have. It's so easy to get it, if you don't have the right diet and whatever else, and if you have the genetics. So basically, and it was a pretty good friend of mine, and so I found myself wanting to create a performance piece, and I told myself, if I can't get into Fringe, having another venue, there is actually a community center very close to us, but it's not. I don't know if it's set up for that, and it's hard to book. It's hard to get bookings, it's hard to reach the person. I should try again though, because it is much closer. We could walk to it. But but the other thing that transpired from that is I have found myself, again, whether I have it or just been learning and doing it because, I feel after this hasn't happened with something like you, I have been getting more involved at the, slowly but surely, at the diabetes center. And so there is a couple groups that, one's just a general social group, and I realized, I took a class, one afternoon class there, and when we did our introduction, that's what I said, that I might be pre-diabetes, but I also experienced this recently, so for that reason I had to learn, and that was fine. But I do remember one person saying, I thought, somebody that works there, and they're very, welcoming in that, and they're they're diverse, although, not to sound a certain way, but they do seem like they have mostly female staff. Although we may have talked in the past about how I have possibly some identity in the non-binary area, but not in such an obvious way that, because I thought, oh, maybe that, but also the plaza that it's in can be a bit rough. And so, I don't mind going there occasionally, but to go there for a job which isn't necessarily even available would be another matter. But anyway, so basically, I'm gonna find out my test results when I talk to the doctor in a few moments here. But the past couple times, it's like, oh, you're all good, you're all good. And it's like, well, but something was going on. But basically, yeah. So they have that general group. It's every other week, and I almost went out to it the other day, and then I decided to call first and found out that it's actually the following week. I also thought it was in the afternoon, so I was wrong on both accounts, but now I know. And then they also have a grief group. And that one I think definitely makes sense. I have, been going through my healing and actually felt, the presence around. In fact, the class that I went to, the person that sat next to me had the same first name said the same way, which I thought was kind of ironic. But I'm a little bit anxious about going there though for that one because I know that I'll pick up on energy and I don't know how overwhelming that would be for me. I also know that there's only kind of 2 locations, or it sounds like there is, and I believe that their family would mostly help with, so St. Boniface does come before that. And I don't know if I'm going to possibly see any of their family at this. And just kind of really quickly in a nutshell about that, I met her uncle at the funeral for the first time. We talked a little bit, and then not much, but and then just a little prior to that, I commented on a social media, but we weren't connected. It was a couple posts I found, and then I sent I was having messenger issues, so I sent you my post, mentioned both of us and that we met, and I had mentioned that I felt like my friends were wanting me to ask you. Basically, my closest sister having her pop up from DC, we don't have to go to, and we need someone to walk their dog. And there's some options, but especially at the time when I sent him, they and they still don't entirely feel for sure. So I'd ask, and he blocked me. The sister, this was the thing before the funeral, I had some anxiety prior to the funeral, wondering, whether going to be allowed to be added, if there a problem. It wasn't. I also kind of avoided her, which I met her a few times in the past. But you know what? I'll call back, and hopefully we can get to wrap that up in a moment. But the other call is coming in. Okay, bye. Hello. Oh, hi. How are you? I'm okay. I was just on another call, but I knew that you would be calling, so good to hear from you.